हेलो स्टूडेंट्स, जब ये पोलन ग्रेन जर्मिनेट करते हैं तो दिस एंटाइन इज कम्स आउट थ्रू दिस जर्म फरो. So this is the structure of a pollen grain. And when this pollen grain, now in this condition, these pollen grains they shed from the anther. जो anther से जो होता है ये pollen grain two cell stages में in approximately 60% of the cases these pollen grain they are released from the anther in two cell stages. Sometime in few cases, approximately in 40% of the cases, before they shed from the anther, this generative nucleus get divided, and that leads to the formation of another two cells. Now in 40% cases, these pollen grain when they released from the anther, they are in three cell stage. लेकिन अगर क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है मैक्सिमम टाइम क्वेश्चन के एट व्हाट सेल स्टेज दे आर रिलीज फ्रॉम द पोलन ग्रेन, तो हम लोगों को जो है वो टू सेल स्टेज जो है वही जो है वो आंसर देना होता है. टू सेल स्टेज दे आर रिलीज फ्रॉम द एंथर या पोलन सैक. नाउ दिस इज द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द पोलन ग्रेन. नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द development of male gametophyte या pollen grain. Gametophyte. Now large number of pollen grain they are released from the pollen sac and they do not germinate till they fall on the stigma of the female flower. When they fall on the stigma of the female flower, they absorb the mucilage. The stigma जो होता है female flower का, that is the sticky and mucilaginous. Sticky, why the stigma is sticky? Because if the pollen grain they are present in the air, or if they are attached with the body of any animal, insect, then they are very simply attached to the stigma. And why mucilage is there? Because they are have the lots of mucilage water in this mucilage. The pollen grain when they fall on the stigma of the flower, they absorb nutrition, your water, and then this intine comes out from the germ furrow, and that leads to the formation of tube-like structure, which is known as a pollen tube. That is known as a pollen tube. First of all, the vegetate in this pollen tube, हमने यहाँ पर कहा कि there are the two nucleus, large size nucleus and a small size nucleus. Large size nucleus is known as a vegetative nucleus. So vegetative nucleus is first come down in the pollen tube. That is followed by the generative nucleus. And in this way, the pollen grains pollen tube by continuously absorbing the nutrients from the style or stigma by dissolving the cells of the style of this pistil, they grow towards the ovule. It comes downward toward the ovule, and during this process the generative nucleus, vegetative nucleus that remain as such, but the generative nucleus divide by mitotic division, and that leads to the formation of a two male gamete. So dear students, this is only the development of a male gametophyte till the formation of a male gamete. Now we are discuss a few topic which is present in the NCERT book, that these large number of pollen grains they are released, they entered into the human being and they cause the allergy. In maximum of the cases, जैसे in the March and April, when lots of flowering is there and large number of pollen grains are released into the environment, they enter into the respiratory tract of the human being, and that leads to the allergy, which is the asthma in some people, or bronchitis, respiratory disorder. And if there is another topic which is known as the cryopreservation. In your book, cryopreservation mean the storage of germplasm. यदि पोलन ग्रेन, अगर हम लोग चाहते हैं कि ये पोलन ग्रेन जो है वो बहुत दिनों तक जो है वो जिंदा रहे, ठीक है, और देन वी हैव टू स्टोर देम एट अ टेम्परेचर which is equal to -196 degrees centigrade. That is the temperature of liquid nitrogen. If we want to store the seed or semen or these pollen grain or any kind of germplasm, then these are stored at a very low temperature, which is the temperature of liquid nitrogen at 196 degree centigrade. अब यहाँ पर थोड़ी सी एक चीज और डिस्कस करना चाहता हूँ, दैट इज द बायोबिलिटी ऑफ पोलन ग्रेन. बायोबिलिटी के पोलन ग्रेन जो है वो कितनी देर तक जिंदा रहते हैं व्हेन दे आर रिलीज्ड फ्रॉम द पोलन सैक. तो जो पोलन ग्रेन होते हैं इनकी जो वायबिलिटी है, viability that varies in different species. In case of rice or wheat, that only for the 30 minutes. They remain viable only for the 30 minutes. But in case of rosaceae or leguminaceae, they are viable for several months. तो viability जो है इनकी कितनी देर तक जो है वो जिंदा रहते हैं. एंड वायबिलिटी मीन दे आर एबल टू carry out the process of fertilization. They are able to germinate when they fall on the stigma of the female flower. So that viability is variable in depending upon the different kinds of plants. In case of rice and wheat, viability is of 30 minutes only, and in case of rosaceae, leguminaceae, the viability of this pollen grain is of the several months. So dear students, this is all about the this topic of our pollen grain structure and development of pollen grain. Thank you.